Yo, GM, ladies and gents, how are y'all doing? Welcome back to another Game GPT space. As usual, I'm your co-host, NFT Bossa, and I'm just really glad to be back on this amazing panel with such beautiful faces here. Guys, it is officially the start of Q4 today. It is October 1st. Supposedly, there's a term that we've been using. It's called Uptober, but I don't know, man. The chart is saying a little bit different today. I don't know if this is really October, man, but no, it's all jokes. Let us cook, man. Just let the charts cook. Look, really grateful and excited to be back on this. Today's topic, man, is AI's growth outpacing Web3? This is something that I came across a couple weeks back, and I just feel like it was an interesting topic and a different angle on how we can tackle AI and Web3 and everything that we're doing in this space all in one discussion. And I figured, why not bring this up as a topic? So I'm really looking forward to all the different types of takes we're going to be hearing today. One more friendly reminder for those that are new to the space and just showing up, if you want to do me a favor, interact with the space link pinned at the top of the Jumbotron or bottom right button. You already know what to do. Comment, repost, bookmark, any of those good things would be very much of help. And so that being said, let's just check in with the amazing panel we have today, man. I'll start off here with Devin behind the Game GPT account. Devin, what's going on, man? How are we doing today?
What is up, boss? Doing great, my friend. Actually, just relocated to Central
Ooh,
USA. So I was on East Coast time for most of the year, but I'm going to close out the year here in Austin, Texas. I'm at 11. It's 11 a.m. It's usually right at noon when we start these spaces for me when I'm on the East Coast. I'm excited. I'm
yeah,
invigorated. Really looking forward to the topic
dude,
we
that's
have today.
crazy. What was the reason for the move?
I actually just spend half the year in East Coast, half the year Central. That for the last kind of like a year and a half. That's what
That's
I'd like to
sick.
do.
That's sick. I wonder if that little hour that you lose, do you feel like a massive change in the way you're, I don't know, you operate in a day to day basis, or is it not really much of a difference?
The only thing I notice is that I wake up at the same time, 6:30, and it feels like I'm a little behind just because it's like an hour. It's an hour like later where I'm used to, but I'll probably get the hang of it here in a week or
Yeah,
so.
dude, I just came back from Token and man, I am like, I think I just recovered from jet lag, but dude, I was like I would be up at 4, 5 in the morning, a ton of energy for no reason, and then I would just crash at 9, 10 in the morning, and I'm like, dude, this is terrible. I have to fix this. But we're good now. I don't know if anyone here on the panel was at Token, but if you were, and if I didn't see you, GG played. I wish we did, but I see Earth from Another Sun. I think he's waving here because I know I think they were also at Breakpoint. You guys gave me the alpha there. But really quick, let's check in with Connor real quick. Connor, what's going on, man? How are you doing? Welcome to the space.
What's going on, Bossa? Yeah, it's actually same time for me. I'm in just south of Austin, Texas. So yeah, it's just 11 a.m. for me, and I'm super excited to get to talk about this space because I think there's a lot of like nuance you can talk about in this topic that may not be as straightforward as everyone thinks.
Yeah, yeah. I'm starting to put the pieces together, man. So if Devin moved to Texas and you're just south of Austin, Texas, you know what I'm saying? It sounds like you guys are linking up for something. There's something going on behind the scenes here. I'm just messing. Connor, appreciate you. Thanks for hopping in the second co-host slot here. Let's check in with our beloved guest, man. Earth from Another Sun. What is going on? You were waving at me saying you're from Token. How are you doing since Token, man? What's new?
Very good. I am falling on today, which is just over a week after I came back from Token, so it is maybe slightly delayed. But it was awesome. Very hectic Calendly's, very hectic schedules. We were at Token 2049 at a bunch of side events, and then Breakpoint where we had a booth. So definitely a lot of leads on everything from investors
So
to
sick.
media coverage to projects. So quite hectic, but a lot of fun. And hopefully it is October. I think today is just a very small correction. I think there's too much optimism in there.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're all just waiting for the banana zone to hit any moment, but we got to build up to it. We got to build up to it. Earth, how was the booth at Breakpoint? Really quickly, I just wanted to know how was the booth? How was the experience over there?
It
What did that
was
look like?
extremely awesome. It was 7 to 8 hours of nonstop speaking. I lost my
Wow.
voice.
Oh
Luckily, on
my
the
god.
last day, I was on low sleep because I was overly caffeinated in the day. But it was really
Oh
fun
man.
because we finally had like people that I've met online, had meetings with, people that have heard of us, people that we've heard of that were there in person and able to see our game and play it. So, just from an EFAS perspective, it was awesome. overall, it was even better because just seeing the level of stuff that Solana's ecosystem is cooking up, everything from their new phone to the level of building, not just in GameFi, but across all sectors of Web3, made me so bullish. And it's like when you take a small light bulb into like tens of thousands of watts of energy, it just feels that much more invigorated. So, although I was like exhausted physically, just that level of energy and innovation from everyone kept like all of us going together. So, it was definitely a once in a lifetime experience.
Dude, I love hearing this, man. And from what I've heard from people that are or have been attending these Dubai, Singapore last year, they were saying that the attendance in numbers grew massively. So it's cool. It's cool to see a rise in people being interested in showing up to these IRL events, and I highly recommend doing so if you haven't
It was
already.
really crazy. There were a lot of people, and I think Token 2049 was very awesome for networking and just to listen to the people building in the space. But I think Breakpoint was very focused on the Solana ecosystem. So I think it
Mm,
was awesome the way they structured it to show innovation in specific buckets. And
yeah.
it was just like an us versus them mentality for everyone there. And like all the Solana degens had a point to prove. So it was awesome just checking out the energy and the innovation out there.
I think my last thing with Breakpoint was it was just so cool to see like Frank D Gods. They did a really great job of pulling in the degens of this of the Web3 space because I feel at a lot of these conferences sometimes it's too like investor VC corporate like vibes and like nothing wrong with that. I think it's much needed for conferences, but bro, degens we want to hear in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? We want to hear people that are in the trenches. So yeah, Earth, thanks for being here, first of all. And second, I'm glad to know that everything went well at the token event for you guys. Let's check in here with Kip Protocol, then we'll keep moving forward. Kip, what's going on, man? Who am I speaking behind this count today?
I'm Julian, CEO of KIP. Very happy to join the GameGPT space one more time. In fact, we joined, I think, their panel at Token 2049. We also did a party, robot dogs, DJs, femme fatales. I'm
Ooh.
making it sound sexier than it is, but a lot of people came and hung out till late. And they left and then they came back. So that was something. Yeah, I think Leon came and hung out. Quite a lot of people came. So it's good. The energy at the Singapore was good, but we had to put on a show because we are based in Singapore. So when
Yeah.
I say GM, it's really GM. It's just GM. It's 12 midnight. So good morning.
Ooh,
Okay.
man.
The yeah, I think let's all will October into existence, shall we? Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
We
do that.
if enough people believe it, then maybe it will happen.
You ever watch Dragon Ball, Julian, when Goku is doing the spirit bomb and he's asking everyone around the world to send him some powers? That's exactly what we have to do with Bitcoin right now.
Sure,
That's
for sure.
awesome. Julian, you said robot dogs? That's crazy. That was at
Yeah.
the event?
Yeah.
Dang.
So we've got to, they weren't exactly Boston Dynamics, but they were Boston Dynamics styled robot dogs. And they were dancing and everything. And Matt, what's his last name? Stephanias.
Oh, Matt Stefanina. Yes.
Stefanina, sorry. Oh, nice. But anyway, so yeah, we had a clip of him dancing. And then obviously the robot dogs could be remote controlled, right? But they were like dancing to the beat and they were having a dance off. So
Yeah.
that was cool. Yeah.
That's actually no, that's actually really cool. The amount of footage, the amount of coverage I'm seeing now from people that were either doing video content, they were recording out there. A lot of them are being posted on the timeline this past week. So it's actually really cool to see from other angles of how people experience token. But
Yeah.
Julian, thanks for your time. I know it's midnight for you. So best believe I hope after this space you can get some good rest, man. But
Thank
hey,
you.
it's October. You gotta lock in. And look, man, shout out to all the people down there in the audience as well, man. Chin Sanity, someone that I hung out a lot with at Token Singapore, really good guy, really cool friend. Ate a ton of good food there together. Looking forward to hopefully more moments like that and experiences with people in the near future. Look, like I was saying for today's topic, guys, is AI's growth outpacing Web3? This is, I feel we can get a little nitty gritty here, right? I want to know exactly how do you guys view this narrative, right? Is AI even something that you guys are paying attention to, right? Because I know a lot of us here are very Web3 native, where we have our own products, we have our own teams, we have our own blueprint that we're working on, we're building, right? But to open our eyes, look up every now and then, see what's going on around the world, and especially with the pace that AI is being adopted, right? I actually read something very interesting this morning, and it's a shout out to Grok AI. They pulled up this article for me, and it says that AI is currently being more adopted, or it's being adopted more than like blockchain infra layer or anything along those lines. And I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, it can make sense for AI to just be a little bit more of an interest compared to blockchain and maybe crypto in general. And maybe it's just because of the way that these two things are so different in a sense, right? But we've seen the tech giants like Microsoft, literally Apple, right? With the latest iPhone 16, I think the latest iPhone 16 Pro has their own Apple AI technology in it. So I feel like AI is just outpacing the heck out of Web3 right now, out of blockchain. But I'm curious to know how you guys view this, right? And Devin, maybe I'll start it off here with you, then I'll just pass it around. But from every single space we've hosted so far, Devin, like, how do you view these two different narratives building alongside each other with AI and Web3? Is AI, the way that you see it, also outpacing the growth of this space? Devin, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, appreciate it, boss. And I think today's topic is one where setting some guide rails and maybe setting some definitions in the beginning on what Web3 is probably would guide the conversation in a way that would be much more productive, and it would give a lot more unique perspectives on what's
Let's do
going
it.
on. So I thought one of the best things for me to do is actually to go ahead and put the road down, put the and draw the lanes on which we're going to be talking about. So what I'm going to do is just very briefly really talk about what is Web 1 and what defines it, what is Web 2 and what defines it, and what is Web 3 and
Mm.
what defines it. And I think once we get to what Web 3 is and what defines it, we'll have a really interesting conversation, because most people think Web 3 is entirely blockchain and AI is this thing that sits outside of Web 3. But once we really get into the details, I think people are really going to see that they may not be so different as they are initially whenever your initial thoughts are. So let me just get right into it. We'll only take a few minutes here. But the onset of the web, most notably Web 1, was denoted around the 1990s to the early 2000s. And the quick example of what Web 1 was is effectively the static web. And the definition of what the static web is effectively the read only web. And breaking that down for simplicity's sake, read only just meant that most of the time, most of the things that you're doing on the web is very passive. You're reading like a blog, you're reading the Yahoo directory, you're finding like a phone number or an address for something. It is a very passive experience where you have no interactivity with what's going on. Most of the websites were static HTML websites, and it was really just posting very simplified type of content for people to consume or use in their everyday lives. Web 2 kind of changes that, and it takes place around the mid 2000s to pretty much today. And instead of going from the static web of Web 2 or of Web 1, Web two's kind of one sentence or one or two word quip is the social web. So instead of being a read only internet, we switch to a read and write internet, where people aren't passively looking at the content that they're finding on the web, but they're actually contributing to it. A lot of the kind of Web 2 products today are ones that we're on right now or that we use every day. Social media platforms like YouTube, like X, and even more almost like a business lens, not necessarily like a social media information exchange websites, or like Amazon, where not only can you buy products off the internet, but you can actually contribute to the commerce that's happening by going on eBay, by going on Amazon, by going on Facebook Marketplace, and all of these other things. It is the social web because not only can you write something online, but other people can contribute to that. And then Web 3, which is obviously it doesn't really have a date yet. I would say it is an emerging date that's happening now and as well into the future. If the one or two word quip for it would not be static, it would not be social web, but it would essentially be the decentralized web. The definition of that is it is read, it is write, and then the third component of Web 3 is
Mm.
own. So not only can you read content, not only can you write content, but you can actually own parts of the web that you land in. And the features for this are decentralization, as it is in the initial name, the ownership of data, and token-based economies. Examples that everyone I think is familiar with would be Ethereum or Solana or all of these Web3 economies that sit on existing AI or existing blockchains. But if you really understand what decentralized AI is trying to do, like BitTensor and all of the other AI products that are on or off blockchain. I think this decentralized future where people can own their data is actually much more related to that decentralized web than not like it. So I think that is just setting the ground rules for what we're going to be going in today and figuring out on what Web3 is, and is AI outpacing Web3, or is it very nuanced, Conovar was alluding to earlier?
Man, Devin, if you put it like that, I'm over here. Damn, that makes a lot more sense, dude. I love how you're breaking down though Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, and to highlight obviously the one with the title here, Web 3. I wonder if this concept still, till this day, man, this is something that I actually ask even my own non-native Web 3 friends is like, how cool does the concept of ownership of assets actually sound to people? And I feel like verbally, it sounds very confusing off the bat, right? People are like, what the heck are you even talking about owning my assets? But then what I feel is missing is obviously either a product or an experience that person can go through to actually understand and see what ownership of assets really does mean. And our NFTs and the space that we're building in, is this going to be what we're going to be showcasing? Is this going to be the solution to all this? Maybe it's just simply the first brick that we're laying down here. But Devin, you painted a really good intro to this discussion, and I'm actually really glad for you breaking it down like that. I actually want to pass it over to Earth from Another Sun. And Earth from Another Sun, I saw you throwing a lot of 100 emojis to what Devin was saying, and I'm just curious to know how you feel as well, right? Do you also believe that one, the title in itself,
Mhm.
AI's growth is outpacing Web3, but the way that we or Devin was separating each kind of category, would you agree to all those points?
I think some awesome points made. The biggest thing I'd like to add is probably what AI has done, which Web3 really needs to learn from, is if you see how ChatGPT was popularized, it wasn't the backend technology. It was the fact that someone could enter, show me a green sun in the middle of space, and it would show it to you. And that front end user experience went viral. And then the user like applications for that were found across all industries so fast. The content being made about it was not about the level of funding in the industry, the AI stocks you should buy, but it was actually the front end user applications. Web3 has that. For us degens or us builders that know the industry, there's so many competitive advantages that we have relative to Web2 in terms of whether it's gamify, DeFi, moving money around, building certain data layers. There's so many benefits. But if you see most of the content that is being shared about blockchain technology right now, it's either about the investment side of it, which I'm not against because I heavily consume that information. But I think if we have to be at a level of reach that AI has got and a level of use, there needs to be selling points on the front end applications of Web3. And a quick example of that is if you look at AI itself, one of the biggest things which we've been seeing in the past few years is the number of AI powered applications which are in mainstream use across all industries. We're seeing whether it's for a student in college or whether it's for massive industries with everything NVIDIA is doing. These are all things which are ingraining into retail investors, into the next generation of builders, whether it's Web 2 or Web 3, that these are technologies we can use. I think at Web 3, we need to do the same. We have so many things just within GameFi, even if we don't go outside into DeFi, which is so much competitively better if you relate the underlying technology to Web3. I mean, to Web 2, but I think the way we're marketing it is not all there. I think a lot of the marketing is hype
Mm,
associated, a lot of the marketing is trying to get money into the ecosystem. And actually, the way the building should be done is first getting the users into the ecosystem and then the money will follow. If you see, not even ChatGPT, if you see something like Anthropic, I remember a year and a half ago, they were raising at a billion valuation. They're at 17 billion right now. They're not as volatile as crypto. They're going to be going through a very steady development process. And the popularization metrics are all through the user application itself. It's not what we do at
mm.
crypto. So I'd say that's probably the biggest point of distinction.
Man, first of all, very well said. And it makes me think, and I agree to your point when you're highlighting that it comes down to the marketing, right? Because I feel that with crypto, it like requires the user to put in their money. And again, we can always come back to that concept of man, like the space is just still looked at as a casino. People are, I feel like crypto just has this image of like people losing money. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like we have that image of us. But on the other hand, you're describing this front user experience. For example, you mentioned ChatGPT. And honestly, that's what hooked me in, was like this experience. I didn't need to put in money. I didn't need to buy or whatever. Yes, ChatGPT is selling like different subscription models for whatever you need it for. And maybe that is in a certain extent to what I'll be paying. But aside from that, I think AI is just such a useful tool versus compared to blockchain and everything. I feel like it's a whole entire layer that we have to integrate into these products. I'm actually reading up something right now and I have it right in front of me. And I'm very curious to know what you guys think about this, right? So this is in the perspective of innovation versus infrastructure, because I think this is a little bit what we're highlighting, right? So in AI, innovation in AI often directly impacts user experience, what Earth was just saying, right? So from personalized content to predictive maintenance in industries into existing systems like Web2 platforms, right? AI just seems to be more of like this like it's focusing on impacting the user experience, right? Web3 on the other hand though, right? It requires building an entirely new infrastructure which is inherently slower due to the need of consensus governance models and creating dApps that are both functional and user friendly, right? So this is my point that I was like trying to lean into earlier with Devin and Earth here is one is you're starting from scratch, and I feel like AI is more so of a seamless. Oh, maybe not seamless. Maybe that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's I can't even find the word, right? But my point with these differences is like one starts from scratch, and then one is more like an impact. It's like a tool that just comes in out of nowhere, and it focuses on one specific part of the experience. Earth, I see your hand is up. I would love to go back to you on this one, man. Go ahead.
Definitely. I think one important point we need to understand is that the earliest discussion of AI as a concept was, I think, at the Dartmouth conference in 1972 or some year like that. I could be off with the exact year. And the first few decades was not similar to the journey of crypto, Web3, Bitcoin, or blockchain. It was heavy research into innovating, but also protecting and assessing the possible risks of this industry. And the past decade has seen everything from OpenAI to Anthropic to these big powerhouses of AI doing immense research into making the front end experience seamless. Whereas with Web3, I think we could have gone down that route. I think whether it's someone that sends money from one country to another for their family members, or whether it's someone that's a banker that's moving money, if you give them some testnet tokens, give them access to a faucet, give them some testnet wallets, there's a lot of value to be seen and
Mm,
experienced. Fortunately, or more unfortunately, in Web3, that's not the path we go down. The path we go down is 90% of the content out there being very less about the front end user experience itself and much more about the intricacies of the technology, where we are as an industry at large. So I think the innovation is there in both. And I think the user experience value is there in both. The big gap, at least in my head, lies in the marketing and the communication done to the audience. And I think it's because there's anyone that can make money. And in AI, for an institution to make money or an individual to make money, there has to be a certain level or scale. In crypto, because there's that ease of money use where anyone can tonight launch any sort of token or any asset, and there's that chance of making money, the level of honest communication and that level of refinement in the end product gets diluted down very often. And I think we're learning as an industry, but if there was more focus on that, or if there were some big institutions that oversaw and pushed these seamless front end experiences and the content also being about the same, which I think now a lot of big exchanges, a lot of big chains are doing, it's going to be much, much
mm,
better for
mm.
us.
And I feel again, man, it's always gonna come down to the marketing. Like, how do we share this? How do we communicate these tools, these experiences to people out there? Earth, I appreciate your takes here. I just wanna gather some quick thoughts from Kip. Julian, if you don't mind, man,
Yeah,
just would love to hear your thoughts on everything that's been shared so far.
sure.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the topic of discussion, there's a simple answer, at least for now. And the answer is yes, right? But I think the comparison isn't really a fair one, and it's impossible to compare because Web3 solves different things, right? Web3 is supposed, as mentioned by Devin from GameGPT, I think it's meant to solve the ownership problem, right? If the whole advent of Web3 started with Bitcoin, then it was the concept or the philosophy, almost the theology of ownership is ingrained into Web3. And that's what it's supposed to solve, right? AI isn't, right? So and also AI, the definition of it is, I appreciate the effort to try to define the discussion, OB Marcus for today. But like in the early days when we started in AI with partner and I. So it was natural language processing at the time. Okay, it was machine learning, and now it's all clustered under this whole thing, AI, right? So will it grow faster? Of course, it will, because it's integrated into every layer of the tech stack, and which gives, because it's integrated in every layer of the tech stack, it gives rise to a lot of possibilities in terms of user applications. You could think of a use case, whether it's a consumer use case or business use case, and have that use case be improved either in productivity or in speed or in results, quality of results by AI, in almost every single facet. And that's why it's growing so quickly. I think what we are particularly interested in at KIP is that the confluence, right? So we know that Web3 is meant to solve ownership. And we know that AI, it solves computing. It provides inference for the first time, right? Do you need to own any
Sorry,
of it?
Julia, again.
Yeah. Do you need to own any of it? I guess that's the key question. And for us, thinking about whether AI will outstrip Web3, the answer is sure. But while it's outstripping, if you're saying that more users are using AI, and yes, that's definitely going to happen. But while more users are using AI, all that activity and all that productivity, if you like, is going to happen on AI. If we define AI more specifically as the sources of inference, the AI models, we are having deja vu, we're having a rerun of history in which large swaths of the internets or the interwebs, the internet as we know it is now being colonized again, is all being monopolized again, right? So I think what would be interesting, at least for us, we're very focused on, do we need to own some part of this future that will be run by AI? And if we do, and we've won that, then how do we do it? So I think, yeah, that's how we really see the problem.
Yeah, yeah, and again, painted the picture very clear. Such a funny reference. It's probably really stupid, but I don't know if everyone here has ever watched that film. It's called I, Robot. Very old film with Will Smith. And sometimes, even till this day, when I hear takes what we just heard from Julian of just AI is not that AI is gonna take over the world in that sense, but more so of like automation, doing a lot of the things that, for example, I was reading something earlier today or the other week that screenwriters are now relying on AI to kind of prep like the original layout of X script, whatever it may be, right? And then they'll take that AI iteration and then apply their own original fixes to the screenplay. And so it's interesting to look at it from a productivity standpoint, right? But to what Devin was saying earlier, right? Of this whole like decentralized internet, that's still, I don't even know if it's because of my freaking goldfish brain can't even comprehend what that looks like, right? But a decentralized internet to me still sounds like something of like, what does that even mean? And maybe again, is this something we are extremely early at and we're still figuring out ourselves? I definitely think so. But to what everyone has shared so far, this is just shedding light, shedding different angles on how we can view the two concepts of Web3 and AI. However, I will say both are growing at a very expeditiously fast rate, man. Here's another one I want to get into with you guys, right? And it goes around the whole like market sentiment and media coverage. And we're in the very beginning of today's space. We're talking about October, right? And so I feel like market sentiment is actually very important to highlight in this discussion, right? So here's another interesting point that I came across is that AI garners widespread media attention due to these tangible, life changing applications, and whether that's from healthcare to autonomous vehicles, right? I feel like this is something that, again, AI is tackling more global stuff, right? On the other hand, Web3 often discussed in terms of its potential, right? I just feel like the narrative is still focused, like we were just saying, on ownership, privacy, finance, but most importantly, it is still heavily focused on speculation. And this is where I feel is like the icebreaker, the make it or break it for Web3 is how do we get over this speculation curve, right? This is something that I'm curious to know what you guys think about this because the more that investors, and I forgot who was talking, maybe I think it was Earth, I forgot who it was, but someone was mentioning about how when investors are looking at these products that come from blockchain or from the space, right? What is it about these products, whether that's a blockchain infra or something integrated with blockchain? Is this something that investors are looking for versus compared to, I feel, with AI, because of how global and autonomous, like I was just saying, from healthcare to, I don't know, you name it, insert industry. I feel like this is leading to a perception of faster growth, which in my opinion, investors would feel a little bit more likely to put their money into. So, curious from this perspective, from an investor standpoint, from a media coverage to market sentiment, right? How do we shape our products that we're building here today to be attractive for investors, right? For people that are outside of this space and want to invest into these products, what do we need to be shipping? What do we need to be building in order to make it attractive? And is there a fine line between AI and Web3 products? Devin, I would love to hear your thoughts on this one, and then I'm gonna keep passing it around. But please, Devin, if you don't mind just shedding some light here on this, please go ahead.
Yeah, a couple points I can mention. So your initial one saying Web3 is very speculative and AI doesn't seem to be. And then the second point being around like the
Right.
hype cycle, meaning that car autonomy, like autonomous cars and other things getting the headlines, where as crypto maybe not getting as much headlines, and the impact seems a little, at least from the media's perspective, a little lackluster. So the first part in terms of speculativeness, crypto is tricky because at the core of Web3, we try to make everything on chain and fungible. I think that in itself lends the environment to be very speculative, and people can have good and bad reasons for speculating. If you have nefarious intentions in mind, it means that you could be rugging people. But I still think that the on chain ability that Web3 creates has much more positives and than negatives. And this kind of ties into the headlines and why the attention goes towards AI, but maybe not as much for Web3. I always view this as AI being top down, whereas Web3 is bottom up. And what I mean by that, and one of many ways in that, is AI can have autonomous vehicles or robotics or maybe ChatGPT. All of those things have profound impact on a lot of people at once. And that is because one product can help tons of people in a very standardized way. Whereas Web3, I think, has something similar where it can bank the unbanked. It is allowing financial liberty, financial mobility for a lot of people that didn't really exist before. And I think personally that ability is almost just as impactful as everything else that in your definition of AI is doing as well. However, it's not much of a headline, but I'm still like super optimistic on things. And I think that once real world assets become on chain, and once a lot of the assets that exist in real life become fungible, or can use NFTs to have more authentication in terms of the provenance of what people are buying, whether it's real estate, whether it's mortgages, whether it's anything. I think that is going to be something that a lot more people are going to understand in a big way. But depending on who's reading the news, it may be a little bit harder to understand. But still super optimistic on both.
Devin, would you say that I love how you mentioned real world assets? Like, are can't even say this question. Are RWAs the first step to leading and building towards that solution that you were just describing?
I think in terms of the economy associated, like the actual market cap of RWAs is huge. Like real estate, by far and away, is the largest amount of value locked up in the world. If you were to categorize things by securities or like real estate or really any type of asset, real estate is by far and away the
Right.
largest one. And I think RWAs has like a vector inside of the real estate market and everything else that does. So I think that would actually be huge in helping blockchain be incorporated into everything else, and by extension, being known as being super impactful
Right.
to large swaths of the
Right.
economy.
Earth, please, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Go ahead.
I think some great points made. And I think if you're just looking at what we can do as an industry to bridge that gap, I think it's going to be everything to do with delaying immediate gratification, whether it's as an investor, whether it's as a builder, whether it's as a user. There needs to be more patience emphasized at all layers of building across all domains of Web3. If we just spend maybe 2 or 3 years actually focusing on user friendly applications, just as AI has ChatGPT and autonomous vehicles like GameGPT just said, Web3 needs to showcase easy to use applications that solve real world problems. I remember in about 2021, 2022, there were all these videos of like exactly what Devin said, banking the unbanked, of how in Africa, Cardano, although I'm not the biggest fan now, going and providing banking solutions for these people. I think if we stay on that trajectory, if we understand that it's going to shape a much better industry for all of us 3 to 4 years later, and we start highlighting those success stories, it's going to create a very good cycle. The industry often follows metas very fast, and one lane of content strategy that works ends up being replicated and amplified at scale. So if we just follow that and start emphasizing these practical use cases, if we just go beyond crypto trading charts, October, what's happening in the industry, and actually show how blockchain can improve supply chains, how it can, even theoretical stuff that isn't being done today, theoretical videos. For example, I saw a video last night on how blockchain can enable transparent voting systems in India a decade later, which is a big issue, I know, at least in India and the US. If we start focusing on this sort of content marketing, it's going to be immensely powerful. And that's going to, again, have a cyclical nature that brings more people in. I truly think if we do exactly this for a year to 2 years, the level of traditional industry collaboration within Web3 is going to be massive. The scale at which we're going to have education for consumers is going to be massive. And I think it starts there and it ends up at a space where you then have investors that are not asking you when the TGE or when your SAFT contracts are going to be paying back. You're going to have users that go away from just their short term gains and understand that this is an industry that can bring in value not just for them monetarily, but shape a more seamless ecosystem for them on all fronts of Web 2 5 years later. And that will bring in patients at all levels as well. So just I think building on those fronts and thinking at that scale on all levels of stakeholders, whether you're an investor or just someone part of a community looking forward to the next product or asset, it'll do a bunch of good for the whole space. And I think it's going to start with a domino effect. But once we start thinking along those lines and start delaying that gratification of let's get this marginal or additional user in, let's make that additional dollar versus let's make this a better ecosystem, we're going to be way better off.
Earth, do you think the focus right now is like when it comes to blockchain and stuff is it's so geared towards like finance and just D apps and DeFi and all these things instead of
100%.
like RWAs right
100%.
now?
I think if you think about it very logically, everyone in this industry is trying to make money as fast as possible, or at least 95% of people that are communicating online. And when you have majority of an industry doing that, a lot of the real stuff gets washed out. RWA also, I think, as awesome as it is in terms of what it can do for the space, just ended up being a meta or a buzzword for people to eventually capitalize on making money via versus actually if they really showed the benefits of different RWAs, different subsets of the industry, it would be so much better for us. You can I truly believe if you look at any Web2 industry right now, from real estate all the way, and you compare REITs to fractionalized ownership of land, if you look at voting systems or politics or legal systems and make information showing how blockchain technology can improve it, the change on a governmental level is not going to come in 1 to 2 years. But I think that thinking is going to start a very big and retail to institutional to governmental domino effect that's going to create change.
I like this. I like the sound of that. Man, first of all, I didn't even realize it's been 50 minutes in today's space, dude. I'm literally just locked in listening to every single one. Dude, I swear, every time it's a game GPT space, I learn something new about AI every single time, which is why I massively appreciate the spaces. I pinned something very interesting at the top of the Jumbotron. It's something that I came across this morning. And it's a screenshot. It says, my bank notified me that a transaction was approved today. And then below it, it says, my Bitcoin wallet notified me that a transaction was confirmed today. And then it says the difference is subtle yet huge. And while you were speaking, Earth, or even when Devin was speaking, you guys were talking about the banking, the unbank, right? For some odd reason, it just made me think of that the screenshot that I saw today. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is probably the beauty of what decentralized internet, but also what Bitcoin and the reason why crypto is going to be changing the whole world. Dude, I sometimes just want to take a time travel capsule and just go like 20, 30 years in the future and just see the impact that crypto has made on this world. And I really want to see if it's exactly how we envisioned it or if it's something that we just completely were so far off, yet it's still adding some sort of good value to the world. So one can hope. But hey, look, with these last 10 minutes left, dude, I'm just going to do a quick little speed run, little segment here with everyone here on the panel. But just really quickly, man, shout out to everyone in the audience as well for tuning in into today's Game GPT space. We've been hosting a little bit mixture of AI and gaming, and we decided recently to just go more pivoting into an AI type of route with these topics. So if you guys are enjoying it, if you guys have any suggestions for future spaces, please get in my DMs. Would love to know your thoughts and let us know what you guys want us to talk about. But look, we covered so much today. I feel we even started to stray away from the title itself, which is actually something that I like when spaces do that. So I really enjoyed today's conversation. But for the last segment, man, just give me, and this goes to everyone here in the panel, I want to go from Devin first and I'll work our way around. It's very simple, right? Where do you think AI and Web3 are going to have its perfect crossroads, right? Or is this something that is even possible? Is it not possible? Curious to know what you guys think about this. Devin, if you don't mind tackling first, where does the crossroads of AI and Web3 meet in the current scene today? What does that look like, Devin?
Yeah, obviously it meets at game. That's one place, but there are plenty and plenty of others. One of the reasons, and one of the big reasons I defined Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3 earlier is because when you break down what Web 3 is, the read, write, and own internet, Web3 as like a blockchain economy doesn't, and all of these blockchains that we're on, doesn't necessarily have to be the only definition of a read, write, and own internet. There are decentralized AI platforms like Fetch.ai and Ocean Protocol that are creating decentralized networks where AI models can be trained and shared across a decentralized infrastructure. Like that in itself is very Web3, even though it doesn't have crypto involved in it. I know like Singularity.net and its ability to be an AI service for a decentralized network is another type of Web3 product that doesn't necessarily have to have a blockchain involved in it. Where Fetch AI and Ocean Protocol and Singularity are like the Web3 version without crypto, Kip is very much like a AI and Web3 project that is like in the middle, doing what Fetch AI and Ocean Protocol do, but in like a blockchain economy. So I think that is really cool. Obviously, in GameGPT, and what we're doing is a little bit different in that we're using AI to build games, and then we're actually putting blockchain economies inside of each of the games that are available in our app, on our website, or using our AI model so that other people can create those types of games. So I think AI is almost going to affect every single industry, and it's going to have its own vertical utility from the many different products and services that AI products are being built on. So I'm excited for it. I think Web3 very much has enough room for crypto, and it has very much room for like this decentralized AI future. I think where they meet is going to be some of the biggest impact things that we can look forward to in the future, and I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Man, can't believe we're getting all of this before GTA 6 comes out, man. It's crazy. GTA 6 is gonna be crazy, dude. But who knows what else is gonna be shipped out before that game even comes out. Devin, appreciate your take here. Let me pass it over to Earth. Earth, I'm gonna pivot the question just a little bit, right? Because I asked when does the crossroads happen, but I want to ask you, how are you planning to be a part of this crossroads, right? Between Web3 and AI. What is it that you're building to be a part of this impact?
Most definitely. I think, like Devin correctly said, both industries have tremendous potential. And I myself believe that blockchain and AI are probably the two industries that will shape majority of the world 50 years from now. At EFAS itself, we are leveraging AI however we can. I think from within a game perspective, whether it's making the experience more hyper realistic, hyper immersive by having smart NPCs that give open ended responses that shape as per the person, the experience you're having, the interaction you're having is a lot of fun and brings gaming's landscape closer to that initial vision of what the metaverse was 3 4 years ago. And even in terms of building these gameplay loops, we are building an open world game, and an open world game has dozens and hundreds of hours of gameplay. Even in developing progression mechanics, procedural mechanics, that first takes sticky gameplay loop, sees what makes people stay in longer, and then creates more and more of that world leveraging AI is immense. And I think gaming is one of those subsets of Web3 which is going to have a lot of AI used. But besides that, I think from everything from DeFi in terms of automating trading, having AI driven risk assessments, to having maybe AI enhanced NFTs, there's so much scope for collaboration. I think it's going to start with AI helping Web3 because just the technology is getting refined at a faster rate in AI and there's more money being pumped in today. But I hope for a future decades later where blockchain technology can also be underlying some of these large scale AI
Man,
companies.
that's good. AI enhanced NFTs. I want to see what that looks like. Earth, I appreciate you. Let me pass it over to Julian for the last take of today's space, and then we'll conclude right afterwards. And I just want to say thank you once again to every single one of you guys for contributing in today's discussion, right? But Julian, that being said, the last take, my friend, how is KIP protocol planning to impact this crossroads between AI and Web3? Go ahead.
I think the crossroads is definitely where you want to own stuff that is being used in AI. And the stuff that you can own in AI specifically would be data, would be models, or would be applications, right? Applications could be chatbots, but could be any number of user facing utility giving program, right? It could be a sentiment analyzer, it could be quiz generator, all kinds of things that you can do with AI, okay, from the front end. But all of these portions, okay, essentially, if you think about what makes an AI product, just now we said that we wanted people to use, well, we wanted a lot of people to come into Web3, just like people are using AI. So we want people to be at this confluence where Web3 and AI meet, is where decentralized AI is. This is the space we're describing, right? So there needs to be a lot of decentralized AI products there. Decentralized AI products are made up of models, applications, and or data sets. These three components need to be tokenized, i.e. decentralized. After that, they need to be connected so that data can flow between them, despite them being on Web3, despite them being decentralized. And after that, if you want people, companies, or businesses to continually make new decentralized AI products, there needs to be a way to split payments, to make revenues for each of them, to make operational revenues above and beyond token speculation. Because otherwise, there won't be a sustainable force for people to keep coming and making decentralized AI products. So KIP essentially does those things. It helps people who own models, people who own data sets, people who make apps decentralize, connect, and monetize their assets, their AI assets into Web3. So that is that space, the very definite set of problems that we want to solve to help catalyze decentralized AI.
Love this. Man, I need to do some deep dive into KIP. And I know you guys are also working with us over at, I believe Jack is hosting the spaces on your behalf. But dude, love the conversation today. And again, thank you from KIP to Earth and Devin, of course. Thank you guys for contributing in today's discussion. Guys, one more thing I want to say before we look to wrap up here is please, in the near future, if you guys in the audience want to come up and speak, even share a few questions or share a few takes, highly encourage you guys to come up, hit the request line, right? We'd love to see more audience participation in our future spaces. With that being said, Devin, I'm gonna go to you for some closing thoughts, closing announcements if you have any, and then we'll look to wrap up. Devin, go ahead.
Of course, everyone, we are very close to the app launch of GameGPT. It is going to be in Apple. It's going to be in the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, and a Telegram app coming very soon. We are weeks away from the launch, so look very forward to that. 2 to 3 weeks after the app launch, we are going to be launching our NFT collection that is going to have direct utility into our app. It's going to be a universal game pass as well as some true utility inside of the games that you're playing. We're really excited to reveal everything in the coming weeks. We're going to be going live with 15 games for the launch here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, as well as some announcements of our next games to be built from the Creator Program Season 0. We had hundreds and hundreds of submissions from our community about games that they love to have built. And the Creator Program Season 0, we're building 3 to 5 of them. Look forward to those. And yeah, we have a ton. We have an amazing Q4 in store for everyone. Thanks everybody on the panel, and thanks everyone that was listening for the last 1 hour of a pretty cool discussion. I had a lot
Let's
of
do
fun.
it again next week, guys. I will say we host these spaces same time, same day, man. So if you enjoyed today's conversation, definitely swing by for the next one. One more thank you to not just the panelists, but of course, I love the audience down there below. Guys, make sure you're following my fellow friends here on the panel. And of course, shoot a follow to the Game GPT account for more spaces like this one, right? So that being said, I wish you all an amazing, beautiful rest of your day, night, afternoon, evening, whatever it is you're tuning in from. And I will see you guys next week. Peace.